In 1994, after the Colombo Civil War between the Carmine Persico faction and the Orena faction, Colombo family captain William Wild Bill Cutolo and members of his violent crew were being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn on various charges. It was then reported that Cutolo and the other Colombo mobsters had taken over an entire wing of the detention facility and were terrorizing other inmates and guards. Let's check it out. Welcome to OC Shorts, bringing you detailed historical snapshots of the American Mafia and other organised crime. Feel free to subscribe if you like that sort of thing. Today, we're going to take a quick look at the time when Colombo captain Wild Bill Cutolo and his men took over the Metropolitan Detention Center in 1994. During the Third Colombo War, between those loyal to acting boss Orena and those supporting imprisoned official boss Carmine Persico, it was Captain William Wild Bill Cutolo's crew that carried out a lot of the violence for the Orena faction. For example, the murder of Perisco loyalist Henry Hank the Bank Smura in November 1991 is often attributed to Cutolo's crew member Vincent Chickie DeMartino. And on December 5th, 1991, longtime Colombo family soldier and Perisco loyalist Rosario Black Sam Nastasi is shot to death in his social club, allegedly by another Cutolo associate, Frankie Notch Iannaci. During the war, Cutolo's crew was also responsible for several failed attempts to murder Greg Scarpa, including the famous unsuccessful shooting where Scarpa's daughter and grandchild were present and could have quite easily been killed in the chaos. Wild Bill himself, also known as Billy Fingers, would survive multiple murder plots during the 2-year conflict, with most of these plots being the brainchild of Persico faction psychopath Greg Scarpa. Even before the Civil War, it appears that mob informer Scarpa wasn't a fan of Billy Cutolo and had made a concerted effort to inform his FBI handlers about Cutolo's business interests and position in the family, which could lead to speculation that Greg Scarpa viewed Cutolo as a threat to him in the family. FBI files show the following based on information provided by Scarpa. On August 1st, 1989, source advised that Billy Cutolo continues to use Secrets Lounge 6201, 11th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, to meet with his crew and discuss illegal activities to include loan sharking, labour racketeering and extortion. On November 16th, 1989, source advised that William Cutolo has gained considerable power and influence in the family in a short period of time, in part due to his influence in union activities and his skill as a moneymaker for the family. On December 25th, 1989, source advised that William Cutolo finances Shylock loans through several loan sharks who meet him at Secrets Lounge. Source advised that those victims who do not make their payments are threatened or physically beaten. Source has overheard Cutolo discussing loan sharking matters on his mobile phone. In 1991, war breaks out in the Colombo family, and Greg Scarpa lists William Cutolo as a likely victim of the conflict. Interestingly, but unsurprisingly, Greg Scarpa also lists himself as a potential target. The FBI file shows the source noted that Joey Scopo and possibly Billy Cutolo would be the likely victims on the Orena side, and that Carmine Sessa and Greg Scarpa Sr. would be the Orena's side pick to be hit. And as mentioned, Cutolo would survive several murder plots from the Persico faction. One of Scarpa's more imaginative plots to kill Cutolo was due to take place on Thanksgiving, November 28, 1991, 10 days after Wild Bill's crew of gunmen tried to kill Scarpa in front of his daughter and grandchild. Scarpa's plan was to have a team of hitmen, including Joey Ambasino, dress up as Hasidic Jews. They had stored the authentic outfits at the home of Larry Forenza's girlfriend. Scarpa had learnt that on that Thanksgiving, William Cutolo would be at his girlfriend's grandparents in a Hasidic neighbourhood in Brooklyn. On the morning of the planned hit, the plot was cancelled, after an article was published in the New York Post stating that Greg Scarpa was an FBI informer. Anyway, the 2-year Colombo War finally comes to an end, not long after the murder of Orena loyalist Joey Scopo in October 1993. And in November the following month, Cutolo was arrested and, along with 6 members of his crew, was indicted on various charges relating to the Colombo War, including murder conspiracy. Cutolo himself also faced murder charges relating to the 1988 killing of Colombo consigliere Jimmy Angelina. Within weeks of Cutolo and several of his crew being held at the MDC in Brooklyn, the Colombo mobsters had taken over an entire wing of the detention centre. They were reported to be bullying guards, hoarding food away from other inmates, had seized control of the TV room, and had hung up a sign that stated, "Italians only," keeping the other inmates out. Associate Warden for the MDC, Nancy Bailey, would say, "When taken as a whole, it exhibited to us that we were not controlling that housing unit." So, how did the government's new Metropolitan Detention Centre in Brooklyn allow a group of wise guys to dominate the federal jail and cause embarrassment to the authorities? One newspaper reported, "Under the category Bad Idea, the feds recently tried an experiment with their mafia guests. They decided to house 21 reputed members of the Colombo Crime Family together in one wing of the Metropolitan Detention Centre on Brooklyn's waterfront." So, what was the thinking behind such a move? One article states, Associate Warden Nancy Bailey explained to a federal judge recently that the feds began housing the Colombo family defendants last February with good intentions. Innocently, they believed putting all these made guys together in one section of the dormitory-like prison served justice by allowing the accused to get legal homework done for upcoming trials on charges that came out of the infamous Colombo War of 1991-92. Led by Colombo captain William Cutolo, the group of wise guys, which included Frankie Notch Iannaci, Paulie Guns Bevacqua, Vincent Chickie DeMartino, Michael Spataro, and Frank Campi Campanella, amongst over a dozen others, took advantage of being housed together and started to terrorise the facility. It was reported, guards doing routine locker searches would be surrounded by a half-dozen Colombo inmates who would shout obscenities and ask pointed questions such as, "Why are you enforcing rules around here?" They would steal food and hoard it in their lockers. On some days, Davis said, Colombo defendants squirreled away so much food that some of the other inmates in the prison weren't able to get any food whatsoever. Then came the Italians only sign, hung one day outside the TV room. Assistant US Attorney Pam Davis stated, "No one else was seen in that TV room during this time when the sign was up." Assistant US Attorney Davis ultimately summed up the whole situation. She said, "What that means is that the MDC officials were losing control of the prison, and the people who were running the prison were the inmates." In September 1994, the feds were finally able to bust up the Colombo wing and sent its members to various floors throughout the facility. But Cutolo and several of his crew didn't remain locked up for much longer. Just 3 months later in December, William Cutolo, Gable Scianna, Michael Spataro, Joseph Russo, Frank Campanella, Vincent DeMartino, and Frank Iannaci were acquitted of murder conspiracy and gun charges. All men walked free except for Chickie DeMartino and Frankie Notch, who were still detained relating to other charges. I hope you found that interesting. Thanks for watching.